How's everybody doing? It's PR back with another video. This is going to be the first video in a series of 5 videos showing my top 5 worst officiated calls in the 2019 NFL season. Now, these aren't going to be the worst 5 calls, but they're going to be the worst 5 calls that I was able to see. Of course, I wasn't able to see every play in every game. I'm just going to show you guys 5 of them in different categories. So these aren't all going to be missed pass interference or plays that should have been pass interference, no calls. They're all going to be different types of bad calls. First of all, I understand that every team gets good calls and bad calls from time to time. Some teams get more, some teams get less. I just specifically remember this game because it was the last game at Oakland. And I think the Raiders were 6-7, and they actually had a chance to go to the playoffs at one point. If they had gone 8-8, they would have had a chance. This was in week 15, and I remember they didn't end up going to the playoffs. They lost to Denver in week 17. But I think at one point they actually had a chance to go to the playoffs. But I digress. This happened at the very end of the game. They were winning 16-13. And again, 2 minutes and 12 seconds on the clock. 2nd and 9. And Derek Carr, he's gonna run a zone read option, and he's going to end up getting this first down. So he's gonna zone read option to Jacobs, gonna get a good block, and he's going to slide right there out of bounds. And what's going to happen on this play is that they're going to stop the clock. Because by rule, if the quarterback goes out of bounds in, I guess it's under 3 minutes or under 4 minutes, then the clock stops. However, what you're going to see is that Derek Carr, he actually doesn't slide out of bounds. So the question here is, why does this clock stop? And the fact of the matter is that it was because the referee thought that he slid out of bounds. You can clearly see, in this image right here that he starts sliding right there. His knee is down. Go back a little bit. You can clearly see that when he slides, his knee is down right there. So that is where he should have been out of bounds. He shouldn't have been out of bounds right here because he had already given himself up. Once you start to slide, that as a quarterback is when you have given yourself up. So I'm going to play it one more time for you guys. The moment your knee touches the ground as a quarterback, right there, he should have been down by contact right there. However, the official saw that he went out of bounds right there. Horrible officiating mistake, because what this ended up doing was this ended up costing the Raiders the game, because it basically gave the Jaguars an extra timeout. So the Jaguars had one timeout. They were able to basically get a timeout because his knee went out of bounds. They had an extra timeout, and they had the 2-minute warning. The reason why Derek Carr slid right there was so that the Jaguars were basically forced to burn a timeout. And what happened on this drive was the fact that the Raiders would end up, the drive would stall, and Derek Carr, I think, would throw 2 straight incompletions. It would be 4th and 11. They'd be forced to kick a field goal, and they would miss the field goal. This would give enough time for the Jacksonville Jaguars to go all the way down the field and score the game-winning touchdown. And I remember Raiders fans were so mad that they threw nachos onto the field. Now, this play right here, you can't review that. You can't review a down by contact by the official. This is a blatant mistake. And we have instant replay. We have instant replay to go ahead and catch mistakes like this. To catch mistakes made by the officials. And this is a bad mistake. Because anyone with two eyes could see that he had slid and his knee went down far before he went out of bounds. Okay? Instant replay would have showed you that his knee was down by contact before he went out of bounds. And the clock should have never stopped. So that, in my opinion, I don't even know if the Raiders would have gone to the playoffs. I don't know. I think they had to contend with the Titans. I think they were the 6th seed at that point. They would have had to go 9-7. I think the Raiders might have had a 1-up over the Titans, but they didn't even win their last game of the season, so it's null and void. Regardless, this was a bad call. This is a situation that it actually needs to be reviewed by the NFL. The NFL, the booth needs to be able to review a play like this because it cost the Raiders the game. I'm not a Raiders fan, but this cost the Raiders the game, and if so facto, hindsight could have been 20/20. It could have costed them a playoff spot. And it actually kind of ruins Oakland for the Raiders because, again, their fans threw nachos on the field. And even worse, it's just a bad call. This is just a terrible call. Again, refs make bad calls all the time. But as a referee, as a professional football referee, people make mistakes. But you can't miss a call like this. This is egregious. This is terrible. Okay? So this was the first example of a bad call in 2019. Derek Carr's down by contact should have been down by contact. That's all I have. Until next time, this is another breakdown by PR52 and Two Birds and a Third. Peace.